What's up, everybody? My name is Josh LaFleur from Late Start Piano. Today I'm going to be talking about the three biggest challenges that brand new piano players have when they're first starting out. So, if you have no musical experience of any kind and you decide to start playing piano, that's great. But these are going to be the three challenges that you have specifically just starting out with no other musical experience. First big issue that you're going to have is figuring out the exact height that you should have your piano bench at in relation to the piano, especially if you have a bench, a bench that's not fully adjustable. You want to get a bench that has the knob on the side of it so that you can make those micro adjustments and you can get the bench exactly where you need in relation to the piano. That's number one to that piece. Number two is you need to figure out how far the bench needs to be physically from the piano. And this is all going to be dependent on how tall you are, how long your arms are physically, and the exact piano that you have, because some of them come in different heights and things like that. So you kind of have to make these adjustments. Even if you switch pianos, there's going to be little micro adjustments that you need to make sure everything is perfect and make sure everything is in line. So, how you can fix this problem is when you sit down at the piano, you should have a 90-degree angle. So, see how my elbow right now is forming that 90-degree angle? The elbow is behind the forearm, everything is in line together. You have this slight raise here in the wrist, and then it kind of droops down. This is how it should look when you're sitting down at the piano. If you sit down and your arm looks like this, you have this V here, and then another V in the wrist. So there's a V in your elbow right here, and there's another V in the wrist right here. If you have two V's like that, that means you're sitting too low, okay? And you're sitting too low, so you kind of have to bend your arm upwards, and you're playing like this. If you're sitting too high at the piano, your arm's going to basically be straight out like this. And you're going to be more bashing the keys versus playing them the way you should be with that proper 90-degree angle. Okay, so you want that 90-degree angle. You want your elbow behind your wrist, your forearm in front of your elbow, and your forearm behind your hand and your wrist. So everything is in alignment. Everything is moving as one piece. If you're sitting too high, again, it's going to look like that. If you're sitting too low, your arm's going to be straightened out. Now, as far as how far back you should sit from the piano, you want it so that you're leaning over slightly, nothing crazy, but you want to be leaning over slightly. You don't want to have this perfect military type posture where you're super tense up in your back and your shoulders and your chest is everything super tight. You don't want that. It's going to make it a lot more difficult to play the piano. You should be leaning over slightly and you should be relaxed. Your shoulders should be drooping down. Everything should feel comfortable when you play. You should also have your right knee, because your right knee is the one that uses the sustain pedal. The sustain pedal being the pedal all the way to the right. Your right knee should be slightly in front of the piano itself, so that if you lift up your right knee when you sit down, you can bring it all the way up. You're not hitting the bottom of the piano. So you want that right knee slightly outwards in front of the piano where you can lift it up and you're not hitting the piano. If you're hitting the piano when you bring your knee up, you're sitting too close, back it up a little bit. If when you lift up your right knee, you have plenty of room, it's not even close, then you probably should be sitting a little bit closer. You should be just missing the piano when you lift up that knee. So those are two fixes for the piano bench height and the position in relation to the piano. The next big thing that people have, the big issue that people have when they're just starting playing piano, is their hand coordination. So this is a big one because when you start playing the piano, your right hand might be having the melody, your left hand might be playing the chords underneath, and there's a lot of hand independence, hand dexterity that you need to have to be able to do two different things at the same time. So for this one, there's really no cure, or at least instant cure, like you can with the bench height and the bench position. This one depends a lot on just practicing the piano and not even necessarily different hand coordination exercises, which you can find on YouTube, although those help, but just getting the experience of even just playing regular songs. My cat's meowing over here, but you can hear, you can play a bunch of different songs and you're going to eventually get that hand independence. It's just going to take time to practice. You can do things like scales will help with both hands. You can do things like hand-in exercises that will help with both hands as well. And you can work on different variations of scales. So 2 octaves up, 2 octaves down. You can work on scales in thirds. You can work just on playing chords like triads in both hands in different inversions. That can work on your hand independence as well. And those things are all going to be fixes for you. Come on, Louis. Come on. Those are all going to be fixes for your hand independence. But really, when it comes down to that, it just takes time, okay? So don't get frustrated if you can't do 2 things at the same time right away. It's going to take time. It's going to take that extra experience to get that done. Third thing that beginning pianists have issues with no experience is learning how to read music. Now, this is a big one. You don't have to learn how to read music if your goal with piano is only to play 2 or 3 songs. If that's your goal, then you can watch YouTube tutorials, figure out how to play the song on the piano, and you're good to go. If your goal is to actually improve at the piano and to become a lifelong pianist, and to not just learn how to play songs, but actually learn the piano itself, because there's a difference between learning a few songs on piano and learning piano itself. So if your goal is to learn piano, then you need to read sheet music. And there are plenty of books out there that can help you learn how to read sheet music. But the biggest thing is with that, again, is time and experience. Once you learn how to read sheet music, the good thing is that it stays with you for life. So you might have to refresh if you don't remember how to do it, if it's been a long time. But really more like riding a bike. Once you learn how to read sheet music, it's similar to another language where you're going to be learning the symbols, positions of notes, and different different notations, different ways that sheet music is notated. You're going to learn all that, and you're going to be done. You're going to know it forever. So again, that just takes time. You can read books on it. You can practice just looking up sight music or sheet music online and just try to figure out how to read it, sit down at the piano, start with something super simple like Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, find the sheet music for that, and just try to see if you can read it and try to play it back. So those are the 3 biggest issues. Again, piano bench height / position, your hand independence, and then learning to read sheet music. If you can master those and get good at those, then you're going to be in a great spot here when you learn to play the piano. Hope that helps. My name is Josh LaFleur from Late Star Piano.